Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the End of Life Conversations Weekly Dispatch. We
Dispatch.
are really thinking about today resources and how one finds the resources you need. And we've spoken to how every loss, whether it's a death of a person or an animal or anything, or just all the different kinds of loss that we've talked about on our podcast, every one of those is different. And
Mhm.
it's often difficult to find the resources you need that speak specifically to
The
those
type of
to
loss.
that loss. And so
Mhm.
we just got a chance to interview a person who's publishing a magazine specifically about that. And we also interviewed somebody a while back who has a little grief library that you can on the side of the street and she does label them with all the different versions that she thought of, like,
Mhm.
sibling,
Mhm.
parent, pet, all these things, children's books. And so,
Disease and
yeah,
veterans and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. So what do you guys think? What's been your experience?
I think it's really hard because I think in the moment, sometimes we just get, shunted off into the go find the bereavement, space
Yeah.
and therapy and grief counseling, and I think that's really a great place to start if you are encountering a death of some sort. And then I think that, we end up Googling things, but there are people in our communities who are ready to support you, right?
Yeah.
Hospice centers generally have a really strong bereavement component. So don't dismiss that out of hand if you have a loved one who has gone through the hospice setting. Like
Hmm.
that is a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen to our podcast. We've got a lot of resources on the podcast.
Yeah,
In
listen to our
fact,
podcast.
subscribers get a list of all the resources. So that's another good reason to subscribe. But how about you, Sam? Have you run into this, or what are your thoughts?
I haven't really needed to reach out into non-personal resource spaces
Mm-hmm.
in that way. So I don't know that I'll have a lot to talk about on this side of the
Mhm.
conversation. I'm curious to learn, and I have maybe questions or curiosities about, like you're saying, there is Googling things and the digital social media side, and then
Mhm.
there's these analog spaces that are
Mm-hmm.
happening,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like
Mhm.
magazines, more independent zines, little grief libraries,
Yeah.
meetups, things
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking
Mhm.
forward to that, and I would also like to talk at some point in this time we have together about becoming a resource
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the balance between analog and digital.
Yeah.
And because I'm moving into a space where I'm realizing and discerning what skills I have to offer my community
Mm-hmm.
and figuring out, I guess you could call it from like a business development standpoint, but just
Mhm.
as a service and how to reach the people that would benefit
Yeah.
Let's
and things
start
like that.
there though, Sam. I think I wanted to start out with saying, every single human being can be a resource to another human being, right?
Mhm.
So, we can get a call from a friend who has gone through a death. How do we feel comfortable discussing the type of death that they encountered
Mm-hmm.
is a beginning, right? And there are ways that we can meet grief in others.
Yeah.
One of them being listen, listen, listen,
Mm.
Yes.
listen deeply,
Yeah.
right? Hold their stories in your heart and just let them bring it all out. If there's a person who is encountering, let's say, like someone who died by suicide, that's a whole nother level of care that I'm not trained to do.
Mm.
But like we just spoke to that person, like there are resources for those people to find in community some
Yeah.
a bereavement counselor type of person who can support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as to ways to become more literate around this, There's the work we're doing with having these conversations. That's a big one, and just starting these conversations. The ideas of the desk cafes or salon, it's desk salon or whatever. One of the things I'm hoping we can put together at some point with the nonprofit is a class about for groups to talk about how can you be supportive with each
Mhm.
other, help your group, people in your group plan and help your group
Mhm.
be aware and help and be there for your people. And, you said be there. That really you could start and stop
Yeah.
right there.
Mhm.
Presence, just be present. And if you can
Right.
do that, you've got 99% of what you need to do is just be
Right.
present and pay attention.
And if you can't be present in that moment, it's okay to say no, right? Like,
Yeah.
the flip side of this is, like, sometimes there have been moments when I'm not prepared for the grief that somebody is
Mm,
needing to kind of pour out, and it behooves me to be like, "In this moment, I'm not capable of taking this, but, I can either help you find somebody who can help you with this,
mhm.
or, let's figure out a different way." But it doesn't always have to be you, but when it is, you get to listen.
Yeah. First thing, and drink water.
Drink water, keep yourself resourced so that you can be
Yeah.
of service to others.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right. And then on the other side of that, as we're talking around this, sort of where I am uh in my process is in the stable moments
Mhm,
in community, when there's not people reaching out, when there's not people in need, if you've got the extra capacity, where do you go to offer that capacity?
Mm,
mm,
How
mhm,
do you
mhm.
find the
Yeah,
resources to contribute in a broader sense? Wakil, you've got a nonprofit
mhm.
yeah,
coming together up in your region that is
yeah,
aggregating service providers in that way.
right.
Yeah.
And you've just done outreach at a farmer's market. Those
Yeah, that
could
was
be
fun.
things to talk about
Yeah,
regarding
Oh,
this.
yeah. But it does point out what you're saying, or what comes to my heart when you say that is that we all have an opportunity. We all have groups we're part of. We have communities we're part of.
mhm,
Mostly, let's hope anyway. Maybe you don't. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you are a part of an organization, a church, a spiritual group, um, sewing group, you said
anything
a
collective.
saw Wayne group or a sewing group referenced last week.
Mending.
But yeah, crafts, or book group. You've got a built-in group of human beings that you've got a community of
Mhm,
sorts, and bring that conversation to that community. Invite us to come talk to you, um, or
mhm,
invite someone else. There's probably somebody in your area who'd be willing to come talk to you about it. A grief counselor, a death doula, an attorney, maybe a state attorney. All these people are out there. Most of them are very willing to come and talk, and that's
mhm.
how that starts to happen. It's as what we'll encourage our audience here. You think about what you could bring, who you connect to, how you can connect with those people, and then maybe we
Yes.
should also mention what happens if you just don't have anybody, if you're all by yourself. And there are
Mhm.
people that are, isolation's a big, big problem, especially for elders. But, yeah, I don't know. That's another question. I don't know about that one. Maybe,
It's a question. I mean, unfortunately, part of how they can be supported is by paying, like, a spiritual director or a
mhm,
chaplain. I don't know if the chaplains would do that, but, reaching out to some kind of, yeah, like a spiritual companion
mhm,
to go through that.
yeah,
But I think that there are places. I mean, I can't speak to all 50 states of ours, but my library has a death cafe every month,
mm,
and, there's death circles that are cropping up. It's a big deal. I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to be passing away in the next 30 years, and there already is a lot of community organization around supporting those who did not die, those who are dying. How do we get there? So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
around. And unfortunately, in those times when we need it the most, is probably not the time that we want to be searching.
yeah,
So if you
yeah.
have a chance to, like, find out some information before you get into an
Before you
acute
need to.
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's our ongoing message.
It
So,
is, and I think that people get supported through hospitals too, right? Like,
yeah, and
there's
hospice,
a
yeah,
lot in
yeah,
hospice.
and healthcare, yeah, mental health care, that kind of thing. Um, yeah. So, Sam, what would you be? Go ahead. It sounds like you look like you're about to say something, so I'll let
Yeah,
you say it.
I had a question about religious organizations and their place as resources,
Hmm.
whether you belong to them or not. Usually, if you belong to them,
Yeah.
there's a
You
community resource piece, but that's already plugged in.
Yeah.
right.
What is your experience, either or both of you, with that as maybe non-congregant or an
Open. Yeah.
outsider
Mm.
going in and saying like, "Hey, I don't have anybody. I really need
Mm.
this." And do they go, "You gotta convert first"? I don't
I
know.
mean, they probably do,
Some
but
do. Yeah. Some
Yeah.
do.
I don't know. I've never had that I've never traveled down that road before.
But you
Mhm.
know what that brings up to me is that that would be a really good source to tap as we're starting to ask people to be a resource, to start talking to the churches and the spiritual organizations and saying, you could be a resource for your community to deal with grief and loss, even though they're
Mhm.
not, just as a community member, as a part of the
Mhm.
community, not as and if you're willing to and able to do that in an ethical way, what we consider ethical,
Mhm.
um, then we'll put you on our list. As some place people could call for counsel. And some I know I've met pastors, maybe more progressive church pastors, who definitely said, anybody can stop by, and I'd be very happy to
Mhm.
Mhm.
give pastoral care.
Mhm.
So there hopefully are people like that, and I think that's a great resource I hadn't really thought about as I was starting to put together this directory.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Start reaching out to some of those. So that's a great question, Sam, and.
Mhm.
And I was going to ask you, as you're thinking about it, and I'd love to maybe share. You could share with our audience what you're working on and where you're headed as far as how you're learning to be a better resource, if you want,
Yeah,
if you like.
that's it's early days. Um, there are a couple of communities that I'm already a part of that I see the potential for being in service.
Hmm.
One of which is the Sufi community that Wakil and I are sort of affiliated with and
And Ana
connected
Luisa
by.
too.
And Annalouiza, yes, yes, yes. Um, and the other is this heavy metal
Yep.
healing community festival
Mhm.
that I have been loosely and growing more affiliated with in
Mm.
northern Montana.
Oh, nice.
And last year, especially with the cultural connection, interweaving, and ancestor work,
Mm.
shadow work, all that sort of stuff really catalyzed or brought something up for me where I said, I can do the kind of work that I want to do here.
Oh,
This
Mhm.
beautiful.
is a perfect place. And so I've been making moves
Mhm.
slowly. I made art for them in the past and um, helped build connections with fire tenders and played music with them
Mm.
in informal capacities. But this year I'll be volunteering and hopefully in the future working on programming with them in a group setting, which is really, really exciting for
Yeah.
me. And then on a personal level, I've been I've been starting to formulate an inventory of the skills that I have
Mm.
already, what I am developing and what I hope to develop, and thinking about how do I build like a website. I don't want to necessarily do it uh, on a corporate social media,
Mm.
but there is a new renaissance of independent website creation.
Hmm.
Really?
Yeah, and
That's cool.
communities in
Hmm.
those ways, in
Mm.
sort of an old school evolution, independent internet space.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that paired with, like I was saying, digital and analog, and how do we balance them and how do we marry the two? And the idea that I've had is just, list all the different things. Maybe it's just nested lists of what I can offer and
Mhm.
contact information, and then have a really simple business card
Mhm.
that has a glyph on it and a QR code on it. And I
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
give that to people and say, scan this QR code and you can see the services that I
Oh,
offer.
it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
That is really beautiful.
yeah, and it's kind
Uh,
of a beautiful, step-by-step prescription of what others could do.
Mm, mm,
mhm,
You know?
mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm also
I
going through trainings and applying for grad school in this in this way. But go
Yeah.
ahead, Annalouiza.
No, I just realized I saw a movie at Sundance. I can't remember the title right now, but it was the man who learned how to whistle the tones to get free calls
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
internet. I
Mhm,
can't remember what his name was. Um, but what he was very lonely
Mm,
mm,
and he was blind, so he had a very limited way to access the world at large. But what he did is he put, his phone number in all the phone books as, like, ZZXYZ, whatever, like, so he'd always be the very last name in the phone book,
mhm.
mm,
and people could call in and just tell him their stories if they wanted to, but
Wow.
he always had a daily story he would share with them,
Hmm.
and so for many, many people, they would always call in and just leave messages or they'd listen to his, but I feel like, watching this movie made me just delight in alternative ways for connection because when you're going through grief, you know, sometimes you just wanna talk to somebody who understands, who
Yeah.
sees your, that heaviness, and you're trying to, like, just metabolize and transmute it, right? Other times you wanna meet people who have gone through similar stories so that you don't have to, like, tell it in great detail because somebody's like, "Oh, I know what that feels like."
Mhm.
mm,
But offering just a space to listen as, human to human,
mhm,
care to care. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I think that is so essential that we all refine our skills around becoming good listeners and yet it's not 100 again, you don't have to do it 100% of the time, but to just be ready.
yeah.
mm,
I like the, distinction you're making too between analog and digital. My hope for this nonprofit is that it will be start with, like, mutual aid, local mutual aid, where we are actually belly to belly, nose to nose having a conversation, right?
Mhm.
But then from that, you can create a model that can go anywhere else, you know? So the
mhm,
digital part of it is how do we expand the reach of this, of this service,
mhm,
which is, similar here, as much as we would all love to be sitting with each other in a room and talking, we get this opportunity, and
mm,
Right.
and we're learning to do this and learning ways to spread this word. But yeah, I think that finding that balance, that's a really big part of, and the way that's going to happen more, I think, for all of us, is to really to concentrate on where do we find local mutual aid resources, and how do we develop, how do we create local mutual aid resources so that we can,
Right.
because in the end, this crazy world is probably just going to collapse around us anyway. And
mhm,
all we will have is those mutual aid groups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and it also struck me just now that a lot of people are leaning into the AI piece
Hmm.
and asking AI to accompany them in some
Yeah.
of these moments.
Yeah.
So, you know, I hope that I just read an article. It was one of my little death substacks. You might have gone through yours too, but she talked about how she asked AI how to garden, and I was really put off by that. I felt like I'm gonna, I am not following this person anymore because it does a disservice to having a human connection. And grief, I believe, needs to be a human to human
Hmm.
conversation.
Hmm.
mhm,
And, I'm so sorry if I step on toes, but, a machine is only going to know what a machine knows based on who's taught it.
Yeah.
And when you spend your whole life literally honing the skills around how to be of service in the death realm, I don't think a machine can come close to what I can do.
No, absolutely. I
So,
love the question that Ezra Klein asked in his recent article, which is like, how do we force the issue of AI being used for the public good. What can we do to ask the right questions to create AI in a way that so that what AI can do is say, um, here's a way to create resources, here's a way to get your resources, but not give advice. I mean, it's basically drawing the lines. Where do we draw the lines, and how do we
Mm,
create something that's actually good for the public use?
Mhm.
And of course, his other point was that it's not going to happen if it's controlled by five very rich people, very
Right.
rich men
mm,
specifically.
right.
And so his first thing is we need to stop that right now if we can. And I don't know if we can, but
Which
um,
also speaks to what you were saying, Annalouiza, about like who's training these things.
yeah.
Right.
And, just to again, I might ruffle some feathers too, but if they're being trained by or highly impacted by, yes, you're aggregating, but some of them have more control by, take Grok, for instance,
hmm
highly, highly controlled and tuned by a single person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And many of those people are in a transhuman uh, high fear of the imperfection mortality part of the human experience.
Yeah.
And so a model that is trained on a consciousness form that is seeking to get away from death, that is afraid of death,
Right.
that is
Yeah.
not engaged in a heartful, loving understanding and experience
hmm Yeah.
of the temporariness of life or whatever,
It's,
what
it's not
what's
going to
the
give you good
feedback you're
answers.
gonna get?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe it's aggregating stuff from grief workers too, but it's,
Yeah, we don't know.
we don't
Yeah.
need to necessarily
That's the
go all
problem.
the way
Yeah.
down that road. The
Yeah.
other the other thing, I wanted to speak to on that is I would say in in my experience, in the preference of who you talk to about your grief, in between talking to a real person and talking to an AI is talking to an inanimate object.
Mm.
A tree. How about a
A
tree? How about a
tree.
Yeah.
I had this really profound experience recently, um, which I wrote about as like little everyday animisms, where you recognize the spirit in
Mm.
each whatever it is
I
around
love
you.
that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was standing in the kitchen and I needed to remember something to do the next day. And right where, say, an Alexa might be on a countertop was a little teapot.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh man, teapots are really great at holding things.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
love
you
it.
can pour things out, but it's this little cast iron vessel." And so I said, "Hey teapot, will you help me remember to do such and such tomorrow?"
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
I love it.
And so not only are you building a relationship with the world around you, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's also a really good mimetic device
Sure.
because you're
Mhm.
speaking something out loud
Right.
and associating that task, that memory with something in your direct vicinity. So when you see
Right.
that teapot the next day, and the more you do it, the more it gets associated with that,
Yeah.
then it's good for your brain. We need to be exercising our brain, not atrophying our brain by
Right.
outsourcing our thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful.
Well, and to that point, it's I always teach people that when you go into the death work, when you're showing up as a death food wife, doula, whatnot, it's nice to bring pals along to help you hold the sad stuff.
Mm.
And I used to keep a bowl of rocks in my foyer and be like, "Who wants to come with me today?" And, take whoever, like, raised their little rocky hand, got put in my
Mm,
pocket, and
mhm.
they got to walk with me and witness everything, and when I came
Nice.
home, put it back in the bowl, like, "You and I are sharing the weight of the burden." And
Mm.
then, clean them up every once in a while with the sunshine
Mhm.
or full moon, but yeah, we need to, connect with a myriad of other pieces around grief. If you can't Google it, you can't find it, just, yeah, find a tree, go for a walk. The earth will be really good accompaniment for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. We were
it's
talking about
it there
ancestors a while back,
yeah,
That's a resource.
that is a resource. It's a continuum of everybody is here to support you. Just have to to just say yes.
Yeah.
Learn to talk
And
Mhm.
to whoever
yeah.
is around.
And learn to listen.
Yeah.
Listen, but, you know, once you've said something, once you've made that request and asked for some help from the ancestors, from a tree, from a rock, from
Mhm.
the pot, the teapot,
Mhm.
listen, because
Yeah.
you're probably gonna hear something,
That's
more than
right.
likely.
And on that point, I encountered some piece about rebuilding those animistic relationships around, and that like trance
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
seeking in the non-physical or intuitive or spirit world for feedback and for knowledge, and the important piece is that a lot of the messages, signals, feedback, the things you would be training yourself to listen, come precognitively. So the
Uh-huh.
first thought you
Mm.
have,
Yeah.
write that down, hang on to that before the part of your brain that starts doubting whether it's real, whatever. And it doesn't have to be literally
Ah,
true, but it's insight. That
Yeah.
yeah.
first thought that you have, boom,
Yep.
Information. Yeah, yeah. That jour
that's
we
the direct transmission
Yeah.
from
Beautiful.
your inner intuition, or the thing or the being that you're connecting with, however you wanna
Yeah,
construct
yeah.
that.
Yeah, besides having a glass of water in one hand, you should always have a journal in the other hand and a pencil in your mouth.
Yeah, yeah. And if that's not an option, take notes on your phone. You've
Yeah,
got it in your pocket all the time. Set it
Yeah.
up
yeah.
so the
It's
notes are
easy to
right
do.
there, right
Yeah.
there. Mhm.
I end up often my poetry comes to me while I'm walking, and as people, I'm sure people think I'm crazy because I pop my phone out and I'm saying poetry on my phone out loud to my phone, you know.
I'd rather hear your poetry than some kind of ghastly conversation someone's having.
Yeah, well, we try not to listen to those. Certainly don't record them.
Yeah.
That happens though. That does happen. Yeah.
So before we sort of sign off, to like circle back to the question of resources and different resources, I would love to hear and share some of your personal experience showing up in an unconventional resource way, Wakil,
Mhm.
at this farmer's market. You set up a booth at a farmer's market. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was really fun. We have the new nonprofit is called Grace Pathways, and it's about helping people with end of life planning and affordability and accessibility. And so we're hoping to get a directory together, and actually we found a place, another organization here in the Northwest here called Death Care. Let's see, Death Care Cooperative, and Northwest or Seattle Death Care Cooperative, Washington. Anyway, so and they were doing the same thing. So we aren't going to do two; we're going to have one, but it'll be a directory of resources. People who will offer a discount or some free consultation, and that can be anything: death doulas. Uh, Attorneys, etc. But so setting it up and just reaching out, creating that kind of unique resource, we just set this booth up and we put a sign on it. It said, "Come tell us your story." And we put a bulletin board up and we said, "If you write a 6-word story about what you're grieving,"
Mm.
and we filled the bulletin board up in the time we were
That's so
there,
cool.
and we had many, many conversations, people coming up. We also had people go, "Oh, hell no," you know? But, the ones that came by and had conversations that were very profound and very deep, and, um, Jessica and myself, when we were every time one would be done, we like we do here, we just like, "Whoa, that was
Mhm.
really freaking wonderful, and let's breathe a little bit,"
Mm.
'cause
Yeah.
it's very impactful too.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a resource I think more people could do. I remember Annalouiza, when we were first talking about doing this kind of thing, maybe doing recordings on the street, was you're saying you get a sandwich board. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, our teacher's like, I can hold your death story."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did that booth look like? You said there's a bulletin board. Was that visible to the public, to the
Yeah.
people walking by?
Yeah, I was hoping that I would get, some pictures from Jessica took all the pictures yesterday.
Mm, mm,
She's traveling today, so, I'll probably send them out. They will be on our website soon, and, we have a website, and
mhm.
it's called grace-pathways.com, which talks about what we're trying to do, and I think we're gonna have a page of pictures and stuff. So, yeah, it was just we had, We had the booth, we had a table with some, resources on it. We had a
Mm,
sign-up sheet for people that wanted to be members, and we're thinking that the membership would be something that if you're a member, you can say you're a member when you get onto the, list of resources, and the ones who will take that membership will give you a discount. Sort of like we're really following the People's Memorial model, which is here in Washington
Mhm.
State, because that's exactly what they do. You pay for their membership. We aren't gonna ask for payment at this point. I don't think we will. Um, but just by being a member, you'll have access to this, resource list, and you'll have access to specific people who've given offered discounts
mm,
for that. So that was there. The bulletin board was there very much, yeah, very much right there. It had a little banner on the top that said, "Tell us your story. Give us a 6-word,
So cool.
story." Yeah, it
mhm.
was fun, and I was
Talk
telling you
about a
guys.
collective grief ritual, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it
I
really
mean, there's
was.
the stone one with the water one, and you all go up and pour your tears into this bowl. Write up, write,
Right,
write your
yeah,
A
grief on a
Post-it
bulletin
note.
board, a post-it note at the farmer's market.
yeah. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Yeah, and we hope at some point to actually do short little 10-minute interviews too,
Mhm,
just have people tell us their stories.
mhm.
So and maybe that'll end up on this podcast. You
That
never
means
know.
a
Yay.
lot. And how did you navigate, like, privacy or the, like, intimacy of hearing those stories? Were they just, like, talking
People were
telling their
willing to just come
story?
up and talk to us. That was a
Ah,
beautiful part of it, you know? I think,
mm,
if we did the interviews, we'd probably step back into the back and let them be a little more private, but,
mhm,
and, there's a process around getting a nonprofit into a farmer's market that if anybody wants to know, I can help you with that because it took
Hmm,
some time and effort.
hmm.
You have to have insurance, you have to have a certain kind of booth, you have to have
Wow.
weight, things that they require,
mhm,
which none of it was really horrible, but it took some steps that you have to go through.
mm,
The really
mm.
cool part was the woman who helped me go through the whole thing kept coming over. She came over like 5 times and brought people to us. Because when I first talked to her, she was very like, "Yeah, I don't think people are gonna wanna see that," you know? But she kept bringing by people by, and at the end, she came by and said,
Oh my
"I'm so
gosh.
glad you guys are here. It was I'm so I'm converted," you know?
Oh, I love
Isn't
that.
that great? Yeah.
Yeah, and what a replicable model, right? I mean,
Yeah.
here in
Absolutely.
Portland, where I am right now, there's neighborhood street fairs. There's,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
not
Mhm.
just the big farmers markets. There's
Yeah.
all these little places, and you can. Other thing we were talking about is set up a table in the park
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
with
you don't have to go
this
through
the
the
sandwich board thing.
formal thing to get into a market. You can certainly just
Yeah,
put it up anywhere. I remember
yeah,
Nate
having a
my son Nate
table
doing
and a
that in New York
sign.
City.
What was that?
I remember my son Nate doing that in New York City when he lived in New York City for a little while. He went out into one of those little they have all these little small parks and,
Mhm,
in New York City, and he just went out and he put up a table with a sign that said, "Come talk to me. I wanna
mm,
hear your story,"
mm,
And,
mm, mm,
he said he heard some amazing stories,
Yeah.
So
mhm.
it really is replicable anywhere, anytime, so I encourage people, and you're certainly willing to talk about it with people if they wanna hear the way I went through it, but really, you
Yeah.
don't need any instruction, just do it.
Right,
That's
and
great.
talk about a way to build that community and use that capacity like I was asking about
Yeah,
before. If you don't know who to connect with, if you don't know what organization to
Mhm.
connect with,
yeah,
if you
That
don't have a community that's interested in doing this kind of work, you don't need anybody to go set up a table and listen to people in the
yeah,
park.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I know, Lisa, have you had an experience? Well, you were talking earlier about some of the experiences you had where you had to find resources in the midst of your grieving and loss, and I wonder how that went for you. Uh,
Yeah, I have a hard time I have a hard time with groups.
mhm,
I personally, it's just, I've gone to the death cafes before, and I like more structure for me. Some people really enjoy just, like, random tell your story kinda thing, and it doesn't work for me. So,
Mm,
that's been my experience with death cafes. But let's see, no, I don't feel like I guess I'm more in my head too with my
mhm,
grief,
mm.
and so reading books has been a way for me to, kind of metabolize my grief. When my sister died, I had a spiritual director who was really adept at working with somatic,
Oh, yeah.
ideas around grief work, so that helped. But
Mhm.
in terms of groups, no, I don't have a really good history of that, and I think that that's okay too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
mhm,
some of us
mhm,
aren't made for, loud communities, places where, things can happen and nobody knows what to do. So I'm like,
Right. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think I need to be a part of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Wendy, my wife, is going through stuff, and she's the same way. She doesn't really enjoy the group stuff. They've got support groups for people that are dealing with cancer. And she's like, she
Mhm.
has started to join some, but she sort of, it's funny the way she does it. She'll get on, she'll listen a little bit, she'll give a little feedback, and then she gets off. She's like, you know, she doesn't want to, for one
I'm
thing,
like
she doesn't want
Wendy.
to she doesn't want to create relationships with people
Oh,
that are maybe not gonna be there next week, right? That's one
yeah.
part of it. That's her personal feelings, but then
Mhm.
on the other hand, and this is what I'm hoping to be able to do with this nonprofit, one of the things is to help groups that are already existing find ways to be supportive with each other and to be more
Mhm.
specific, not just to talk about it, but to be like, here's what we can do for each other. We
Mm.
can help each other build our advanced care
Yes.
directives. We can help each other with
Mhm.
whatever, when this comes up with support. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I guess I like that model more. It's like and this is kind of like the capitalist kind of mentality, like you do something to get something done,
yeah.
right? And so I prefer to have a task than to just have it be willy-nilly because
Hmm.
not everybody's grief or style of doing this stuff is the same. So I'm happy to have people who are circle people, be
Yeah,
circle people,
yeah. Good
and
resource.
I could be yeah, and I could be over here like I got something to do.
Mhm,
Right.
I'm gonna do it.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the difference between ecstatic dance and square dancing for some
Right,
people. Some people, or Dance of Universal Peace. Some people gravitate to one or the other, and it's great to have both, and
right,
they don't have to be the
right.
same. And
Hmm.
some people really just want to let loose and just pour it out in a group setting. And
Mhm.
sometimes the ritual side of it is really helps to metabolize, like you're saying,
Hmm.
Right.
those
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, having a container or a different container.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, that's
yeah,
that's it for me.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
So
"Hmm."
So we're creating these resources that we create resource lists and make them available. That's again, as you said, hospice often has those for people in
Hospitals.
hospitals and probably maybe your
Yep.
church groups and stuff. So, yeah, find out where those are. Come to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Find a
um,
spiritual director who
find a
works
spirit.
with
Yeah,
grief.
very good. Yeah,
Mhm.
find a good spiritual director.
Mhm.
Um, that's what we're here for. We're here to
That's
help
right.
serve.
Wakil, before we go, is the list that you're building currently either through this nonprofit or through the podcast, are those like shareable and replicable modes
Yeah, yeah.
already? Like they could be
There
adjusted
well,
or
the one that's being worked on with the, collaborative is not done yet,
Mhm.
but and the one we have, our resource document that we have is certainly we share it with anybody that subscribes, um, um, or takes the class. If anybody that takes the class, mine, and I don't know if you've done this or not, Annalouiza, but when people take a class with me, I always send them that resource list at the end. Um, so, um, so yeah, we get, just a little bit of commitment on your part,
Mhm.
but those are replicable for sure. And because the one that we're working on is a Washington State specific, the point or the idea is that we can use that model, share that model with anybody anywhere, and then part of the model would be for Washington State. We're doing it in a way that the resources we have will have specific information about where they are, what areas they serve, what specific genre they are, maybe, or what kind. Because some doulas all have different specialties. Attorneys have different specialties,
Mhm.
and that they're part of this program that they're willing to give a discount. So that's kind of the main in general. That's the way it's going to work out. But uh,
Right.
and that in that respect, it's replicable because anybody could do something similar in their neighborhood, and I hope they
Mhm.
will. And if the if the nonprofit gets to where we're starting to raise some money, which we hope to do, we would love to have that spread out and like have or
Chapters.
chapters, yeah, chapters in every state, starting with Oregon and Colorado.
Colorado. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
coming.
yeah,
We're
absolutely.
doing it. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you all. Thank
Adios.
you
Thanks.
audience.
Like, subscribe, join us. come chat with us on Substack. We've
Yeah,
got a chat going, starting up, and we want your feedback.
and then,
We
it'll be
want
in
Want
the
it.
your
podcast
stories.
notes. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
all right. Much love.
Okay.
Adios.
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 Grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.